Everlast. Jesus is not God. Rap music has been influenced by the Islamic religion. Like the music group Public Enemy rapping about their respect for the Nation of Islam, to the likes of rapper Q-Tip from the group Tribe Called Quest embracing mainstream Islam. Religion seems to be a recurring theme in this genre of music, both impacting the lyrics and life. One of the American musicians who was touched by Islam was Eric Francis Schrody, better known in music circles by the stage name Everlast. He converted from Catholicism to Islam in 1996. Not only a musician, the man born August 18, 1969 is also an American singer, rapper, actor, and songwriter, known for his solo work and as a pioneer of the hip-hop group House of Pain. He is also part of the hip-hop supergroup La Coca Nostra, which consists of members of House of Pain and other rappers. In 2000, he received the Grammy Award for Best Rock Performance by a vocal duo or group with Latin rock band Santana for Put Your Lights On. When Everlast began his music career as a rap artist, he showed himself to have much greater depth and diversity. His album, which was released in September 1998, entitled Whitey Ford Sings the Blues, has a reflective and somewhat philosophical tone, showing a glimpse of the influence of Islam on his life. This article contains his story when interviewed by Adisa Banjoko, a freelance writer in San Francisco, which was then published by the Islamic media The Religion of Islam on July 31, 2006. The following is Everlast's account of his journey to find guidance. I first studied Islam, probably around the late 80s. I hang out with Divine Styler, popular Los Angeles rap artist. He is basically at the end of the 5%, referring to the pseudo-Islamic Nation of Gods and Earths sect. He started to convert to Islam. He lives with Bashir's family. Abdullah Bashir was a kind of teacher. When he made the transition from 5% to Islam, I heard something. I try to think of the first time I recognized him as Muslim. I think it was when one of Divine's friends took alms and I was there. I heard him say, "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger." And I remember thinking, what is this? I'm white. Can I be here? It's because of ignorance. In America, Islam is considered a black thing. And that's when someone pointed out to me, "You don't know how many white Muslims are in the world." I said, "Really? That's crazy. I do not know." I didn't think about the extra pressure of being a white Muslim in America. For me, Islam is mine. Allah is the Lord of all the worlds, all humans, and all Alameen, world, universe. Islam is my personal relationship with God, so no one can put more pressure on me than I can put on myself. So far, I have never been made to feel uncomfortable when praying in many mosques. Like in New York, the mosque is big, and there are so many people that no one sees you. There were Chinese, Koreans, Spaniards, everyone, which was a good thing for me, because in my mosque I was the only white man, although there were some white women. In the beginning, I thought about it more than anyone else, like the first time I went to Juma, Friday prayers. The first time I went to Juma, I was taken by a friend of mine in New York. It's in Brooklyn in Bed-Stuy, Bedford-Stuyvesant. I was nervous about the environment I was in, not the mosque, but I felt very comfortable once I was there. I thought, this is great. I don't feel different from anyone else in the mosque. My mother was very open-minded, very progressive. My mother, Catholic, lives with me. I have been raised all my life with not a belief in God, but the knowledge that He exists. I was taught if I know anything in the world, I must know that there is a God. My mother, even though she was Catholic, was the first to point out the hypocrisy in the church. My mother really hasn't attended church in a long time. But so far my mother is happy that I have God in my life. He saw me praying. Divine is one of his favorite people in the world. He knows how different we are compared to when he first knew us as children. When Divine and I first became friends, we were wild. We were out partying, fighting, doing whatever we had to do. We think, yeah, that's what being a man is all about. We're going to go out here and be thugs. However, he has seen how much Islam changed me and him. How much peace it has brought me since I started actually achieving something with him. Actually, I talked to my mother for a long time and we discussed the topic of religion. We actually talked about life and death, the future, and when he would go, die, pass away. It won't be long, God willing. But I asked him to do one thing for me. I said, Mom, when you die there may be some angels asking you questions, and I want you to answer them, and I'm not sure exactly how that goes, because I'm not dead yet. Remember that there is only one God, and he was never human. He said, I know what you're trying to tell me. I said, Jesus is not God, Mom. Some of what I know must have come to my mother. He is not Muslim, but he knows there is only one God, and that makes me very happy. I know people who have converted to Islam. Their families have expelled them, rejected them. Everlast, American singer who twice takes the creed. Eric Francis Schrody, whose stage name is Everlast in the United States, U.S. music world, was born into a family of Irish descent in Hempstead, Long Island, New York in 1969. His mother was Rita Mulligan. His father, a construction worker, moved the family to Southern California when Everlast was about 11 years old. The Schrody family's finances fluctuated throughout Everlast's childhood. During the early 1980s, Everlast and his sister Cassandra, born circa 1973, had to commute from Los Angeles to New York as his father pursued work. Eventually, the family settled in the upscale suburban neighborhood of Woodland Hills, located in the San Fernando Valley near Los Angeles. Here, Everlast becomes one of the few working-class kids hanging out with a group of rich kids who have little guidance and start smoking pot. In 1996, Eric made the decision to change his faith from Catholicism to Islam. But later, he admitted in 2011 that although he considered himself still a Muslim, he did not actually practice his religion. He does not reject all types of religion. However, Everlast's interests suddenly changed once he heard Run, DMC's rap group Rockbox, for the first time. I stopped hanging out with the older kids and went full hip-hop, Everlast recalls. Little did he know that things would get worse after leaving the group he formed, House of Pain, before the group got better from its problems. Everlast was sued by his record company, so he had to sell his dream home in the Hollywood Hills. He was nearly broke. At one point, he only had $12 in his bank account. He fell out with his management, lost his Screen Actors Guild, SAG awards card, and was placed under house arrest for trying to carry a gun on an airplane. Then he went through a painful breakup with his girlfriend, which he later documented in a Whitey Ford Sings the Blues song called The Letter. After a 7-year relationship, Everlast's girlfriend was fed up with his constant cheating. I was such a jerk, he said ruefully. Saddened by these events, Everlast then exchanged his life of drink, women, and insensitivity for a life of spirituality, sincerity, and social awareness. After selling his house, Everlast lived in a room with his mother who was battling cancer in the mid-1980s. The two share a Los Angeles condo that also serves as Everlast's new studio. His parents divorced when he was 20 years old. He never fully forgave his father. Despite those feelings, Everlast said he still loves his father and continues to maintain a relationship with him out of respect for the teachings of Islam, which instructs its followers to respect both parents. Everlast married former Penthouse Fet model in 2009, Lisa Schrody. They have 2 daughters. Everlast views his conversion to Islam as a serious endeavor, and so he prays daily, practices fasting, and regrets his disrespectful tattoos. In the previous article entitled Everlast, Jesus is Not God, Ma, Part 1, Everlast tells the story of his initial introduction to Islam. The following is a continuation of Everlast's testimony when interviewed by Adisa Banjoko, a freelance writer in San Francisco, which was then published by the Islamic media The Religion of Islam on July 31, 2006. Even though I have changed my name for 8 years now, they still call me by my birth name. They sometimes say, "Oh, I forgot you were Muslim." Then it became a joke. It never stopped. It's one of those things where people laugh at what they don't understand. I remember sitting down and asking, "So what does a Muslim believe?" And I found the answer. I said, "You don't put up a wall between Christianity and Judaism." They said, "No, it's all the same story. If you read the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah of the Old Testament, you will find that the Quran is just an affirmation of what is true and untrue in those books, the Bible and the Torah. I read a book called Muhammad, the Life of the Prophet by Karen Armstrong. It was written by a non-Muslim, when I only read a quarter of it. The book starts by telling you how they initially tried to make Muhammad look like the worst person in the world, that he founded Islam under the sword. But later, you will find out that Muhammad only fought when he had to. Muhammad only fought to defend Islam. This is a very good book about the man. We're not trying to tell you that he's not another guy. We tell you as Muslims that he is the most perfect example of a man to walk the earth so far. And from what I read, he was the last of his kind, prophets and apostles. When you go beyond the stupidity of believing that Islam has anything to do with just people blowing things up, it has nothing to do with Islam. They probably did it in the name of Islam. But it has nothing to do with Islam. You can't argue with that. When I explain Jesus to a Christian, he can't argue with me. And I don't mean to argue. I said, Jesus is not God. I mean, how much more plausible would it be if he were a man? If I'm a Christian, that to me means Christ-like. If God had asked me, hey, how could you not be more like Jesus? I would say, I'm not like Jesus because you made him half God, and I'm just a man. That doesn't make sense. God does not want difficult things for us. God wants things to be as easy as possible. God will make it as easy as possible. If you ask and you are sincere, God will bring it to you. He may throw a few stones in your path to make you trip and stumble, but hopefully it will come to you. Say Shahada again. The first time was right after I heard a recording by Warithdin Muhammad, son of the founder of the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, who brought much of the Nation of Islam into mainstream Islam. That kind of destroys the whole Jesus thing. He explained that we, Muslims, do Christians a great favor by bringing Jesus to the human level. Why did God create humans who are half-gods and compare us with him? And that just sent a bomb in my head. So I said the Shahada, again, almost like a Christian saying they accept Jesus. Then they said, no matter what I do, now I am saved. I didn't really claim to be Muslim at that time. I pick and choose what I want to believe. God gave me free time. But eventually the time comes to catch the fish or cut the line. I got to the point where I was emotionally and spiritually dissatisfied. Back then, I still had money in the bank and $100,000 cars, women left and right, everything you could want. And then just sitting there and thinking, why am I not happy? Finally, a voice speaks to you, not a devil's whisper. It says, well, basically, you're unhappy because you're living a rotten life, and you're not trying to do anything about it. My stubbornness at that time would not have allowed me to talk about it at that time. I was finally humble enough to talk to Divine Styler, a popular Los Angeles rap artist, and Abdullah Bashir about it. They asked me, how do you feel? What do you think it is? So finally I sat there saying the Shahada again. Since then I have made a commitment. I will try my best. I will do my best to pray. Let's start there. Let's not beat ourselves up because we went out last night and drank. Let's pray and pray for the strength to stop doing one thing at a time. You know, once you get the big things done, it becomes very light. It's a subtle psychological thing that helps you figure out who you really are. You have to be able to face the truth about who you are. If you can't face the truth of who you are, you're doomed, my friend. People ask me and go, you are Muslim? And I answered, yes, I am a Muslim, but I am also a professional sinner. I'm trying to get over it, trying to retire. I'm not going to come forward and say I'm better than you. I just believe that I have been shown the truth and hopefully it will save me, he said.